Hello, my name is Lizzie, and this is Lizzie's Literary Life, and today I'm going to be taking you through my 30 books to read before I turn 30, TBR. So this is inspired, I know a lot of people have done this, but I was directly inspired by Ruby from Ruby Red and her 30 by 30 list. I am 22 years old. I'll be 23 in April. So I have a good long time till I'm 30. So I made this list so ambitious. The point of this is just like books, bucket list books you really want to read, putting them on a list with a deadline so that hopefully you get to them. When I was putting this list together, I wanted to put on 10 classics, 10 nonfiction, and then 10 just like general fiction, genre fiction type stuff. And some of those genre fiction, the 10 fiction books, some of them are actually series. So there's more than 30 books on here, but I lumped series together because there are some series that I really want to read and finish as well. So I'm just going to take you through the list. We're going to start with the classics. The very first one is Middlemarch by George Eliot. This is I'm going to grab it. This is the chunkiest book of all time, except for War and Peace, which is, spoiler alert, also on this list. This is a classic that I don't know a lot about, but I found it in a little free library once, and I was like, okay, bucket list. And I'm actually really excited to read it. It's like a 19th century England provincial life type story, and it's long. And actually, one of my favorite fiction podcasts, Alice Isn't Dead, actually the book version is right here, Alice Isn't Dead, created by Joseph Fink, uses quotes from Middlemarch as like part of their like sign off in one of the seasons, and so like that got me really intrigued. So I'm intrigued by this book. I want to read it. We're going to read it before I'm 30. Up next, we have another one that I got from a little free library, and that is Crime and Punishment by Dostoevsky. This is less long, but still like very intimidating. Small text, and just intimidating. Greatest psychological novel of all time, it says on the front, so that's pretty crazy. Russian classic. Honestly, I don't know much about it, but I want to read it. I want to read it because I own it and because it's a bucket list book. And then I have A Tree Grows in Brooklyn by Betty Smith. Again, I don't know much about it. It's been on my mind. I don't know why. And I want to read it. So there we go. Moving swiftly along, 100 Years of Solitude by Gabriel Garcia Marquez. This is a very well-loved classic, so I definitely want to give it a try myself. We have Walden by Henry David Thoreau. I think this would be super interesting to read, a little bit of like nature-y philosophy. I don't really know much about it, but I think it would be super fun to read. As promised, we have War and Peace by Leo Tolstoy, which is just a bucket list read. It's just a bucket list read. I want to read it. I'm probably going to take a year to read it, just like Middlemarch, but I want to do it eventually, so it's on this list. Then we have The Autobiography of Alice B. Toklas by Gertrude Stein. Gertrude Stein played a part in my history thesis. Not the biggest part, but she was part of my history thesis. And I just want to read one of her books because I didn't read it for my thesis because she wasn't like the main focus. But I think it would be fun to read that autobiography. It's not actually an autobiography. It's just called that. Ulysses by James Joyce, again, played a part in my thesis. I have gone back and forth as to whether I actually want to read this or not, but I think I do. I think I want to try. I definitely want to read a James Joyce. I'm going to try Ulysses. And if I can't get through it, I will switch it out for like Portrait of the Artist as a Young Man or something. But I do want to try it. We have Orlando by Virginia Woolf. I read Mrs. Dalloway. It's on the shelf right there. I read Mrs. Dalloway. I liked it a lot. I want to try more Virginia Woolf, so that's the one I picked. And then I wanted to pick a Dickens, and we've gone with A Tale of Two Cities. Again, I might switch that out for another Dickens if I get a hankering to read a different one. But this list is definitely fluid. I'm not going to stick to it until I'm 30, but this is just where I'm at right now as to the kind of books I want to read. So A Tale of Two Cities by Dickens. I wanted to read a Dickens. I read Great Expectations in 7th grade, and I hated it because I was in 7th grade. So I don't know why that was the choice, but it is what it is. But I definitely want to read another Dickens, and A Tale of Two Cities is the one I chose for right now. And then we go on to our nonfiction picks, and most of these nonfiction are ones that are on my shelf right here. All of these big nonfiction books that my father got me from thrift stores all throughout the time I was growing up because I expressed an interest in history. I just want to read them because I own them. And if I start them and I don't like them, I'll switch them out for something else. But mostly these are on the list because I own them. So we have, I'm not going to grab them all, but they're all behind me right here. I have I Was a Dancer by Jacques d'Amboise. This is one I'm really interested in. It's a memoir or autobiography of a dancer who created the National Dance Institute in New York City, where I did an intensive one time when I was like 13. I did a little intensive summer camp. And yeah, I'm really interested in that one. We have Galileo's Daughter by Davis Sobel, which I really know nothing about, but seems like it could be an interesting history. Honestly, I know nothing about it, but I own it. So, Eden's Outcast, The Story of Louisa May Alcott and Her Father by John Madison. I know vaguely that Louisa May Alcott had a really interesting life, but I don't know what it actually was, so I'm interested to read that. We have Catherine the Great by Robert K. Massey. This is one that might get switched out because, I don't know, it's very long. That's right here. It's the burgundy one. And it's just very long, and I'm not, I don't know. We'll see if I get engaged in it, and if not, then I'll switch that for something else. We have Margot Fontaine, A Life by Meredith Daneman. This is another dance history, which I'm super interested in. Margot Fontaine was a ballerina. Very interested in that history. A couple more that I might switch out. We have Washington, A Life by Ron Chernow, and also Alexander Hamilton by Ron Chernow. I have both of those. This is the book that the musical was based on. I don't know. I actually did start the Washington one when I was in high school, and I got like a chunk of the way through it, and it was interesting. So I'll try to read them. We'll see. And then we have Mrs. Lincoln, A Life by Catherine Clinton. Could be interesting. American history is not my biggest interest anymore, but we'll see. And then a couple that I don't own but I want to read. The Wives of Henry VIII by Antonia Fraser. Having read the Six Tudor Queens series, which are fictionalized versions of those biographies, I really would love to read a nonfiction about those stories. So I definitely want to read that. And then the last nonfiction is Cast: The Origins of Our Discontents by Isabel Wilkerson. This I've just heard rave reviews of, that it's really life-changing in the way we think about society, so I definitely want to read it. And then we get into our general fiction, genre fiction category where there are a bunch of series. So this is where it gets like even more ambitious than like War and Peace. This gets really ambitious, but we have, starting off, The Cosmere by Brandon Sanderson. So I made a list of all the books that are in the Cosmere so far, and I will add to it if more come out. There are a ton, but I've already read 4 of them. I've already read Mistborn Era 1 and Elantris. And I want to continue that journey, and I want to have read all the Cosmere by the time I'm 30. Hopefully they will, at that point, have stopped coming out, so I won't have, like, an ongoing list, but we'll see. I want to read the whole Realm of the Elderlings by Robin Hobb, which, again, I have started. Just really recently, I started the first one in November. I want to finish my read of the Six Tudor Queens series by Alison Weir, which, again, I've already started. I've read 4 of the 6, so we're, like, well on the way. We have The Prior of the Orange Tree by Samantha Shannon, which is a giant one, but I do want to read that. We have another one I own on my TBR cart right here, A Little Life by Hanya Yanagihara. That I think it was Mani from Reading with Mani bought that for me after Wonderthon, because I promised I would do a vlog if someone bought it for me, so I will do a vlog and I will read that hopefully before I'm 24, like hopefully next year rather than before I'm 30, but we'll see. I want to reread/finish the entire Shadowhunters Chronicles by Cassandra Clare, which there are a lot of books, and I read I was like caught up in like 2017, but like there's been a bunch that have come out since then. So I want to reread all the ones that I read as a teenager and then continue that series. And then I want to read, and this is ambitious, but I want to read the entire Riordan verse, all of Rick Riordan's books, which again, they're going to keep coming out. So I'm going to keep adding to this list. But I reread the Percy Jackson series in 2020. And so I'm not going to reread those for this, but I'm going to continue on with rereading all the ones I read as a kid and then continuing with the ones he's released since then. I want to read the Poisonwood Bible by Barbara Kingsolver, All the Light We Cannot See by Anthony Doerr, and The Overstory by Richard Powers. And that's my 30 by 30 list. So it's ambitious. It's really ambitious. I'm going to aim for the classics and nonfiction. I want to aim for like one every 3 months, 2 or 3 months throughout the next few years. And the fiction will just come when they come. Like the series are like ongoing already. So those will come when they come. But I'm going to try to keep on top of this list. I'm going to try to get to the really scary, intimidating ones eventually. Even if they take me months to read, I still want to read them. So yeah, now this is out there in the world. You can hold me accountable. Though I am open to changing any of these, swapping out anything that by the time I'm 27, I don't want to read it anymore. I'm not going to hold myself to this list exactly. But I do want to keep the spirit of the list consistent through to when I'm 30. And hopefully I will complete it. So if I'm still doing YouTube by then in 2031, I will update you as to how I did. But I'll update you throughout as well, because I don't know if I'll still be doing YouTube in 2031. I don't know if YouTube will still exist in 2031, so we'll see. Comment down below if you have any sort of bucket list books for yourself, or if you have read and recommend or do not recommend any of these books on my list. And like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.